is John Colo with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have a very exciting episode for you, and I'm glad this is one episode I've been actually waiting for myself, and I'm glad actually that this item is now available in the USA first at DiscountJuicers.com. Actually, we started selling it actually right before Christmas, and this is the all-new Kuvings Vacuum Blender model SV500, and this is the world's first quiet vacuum blender that has basically automatic vacuuming and blending. So literally it's a one-touch operation. That means you put everything in there, you put the lid on, you press the button, it sucks out the extra air, it blends until it senses it's done and you have a perfect consistency. You just come back and drink your smoothie or whatever you're making. So I'm really interested in testing this literally for the first time. I mean, I got to see this at trade shows, I used it a little bit, but this is my first time actually I'm going to be using the blender for you guys on the camera. So if it messes up, I'm going to show you guys it messes up. And we're going to see what happens. So anyways, this is basically, I've been aware of this for, at least a year. Kuvings finally released it in the USA. To let you guys know, it is only available right now in black in the USA at the time this video is being released. You know, later Kuvings will be maybe releasing the silver and red model, but that's going to be way later in 2018. So if you want this unit, you got to get it in black at present time. Anyways, this is it. This is the box it comes with. Basically, it's the first quiet high-power blender, vacuum blender, and it says on here, vacuum blending, noise reduction cover, 3D moving blades, AI auto blending function. That's like artificial intelligence on the side here. It goes over all the different parts. You got your noise reduction cover, your vacuum plug, container lid, backflow preventer. That's kind of cool. That's a feature I haven't seen on other vacuum blenders. Container, blade assembly, vacuum port, safety, start sensor, motor base, control panel, and rubber feet. And then here it kind of explains like the theory of vacuum blending. Ordinary blender, air creates oxidation, which browns food quicker and diminishes nutrients, and the vacuum blender removes air, preserves freshness and nutrients, and produces a smoother texture. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think what I want to do next actually is we're going to go ahead and open this box up, show you guys the vacuum blender, explain to you guys more about vacuum blending, because I know it is a new concept for most of you guys watching this, unless you've been watching me for any length of time. Vacuum blending is a whole new thing, and in my opinion, vacuum blending will, mark my words, will take over the blending technology. It's only when people start to realize the importance of what vacuum blenders can do differently than the standard blenders, people really start adopting this. It's like electric cars, right? Electric cars, in my opinion, they're maybe not the answer to transportation, but they're definitely a huge step in the right direction to make transportation more sustainable, and the vacuum blending basically does that to what the standard blenders do. They're like Stone Age, in my opinion. Vacuum blending is the newest state-of-the-art that's going to allow you to maximize your health benefits from blending. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and open the box. Alright, so now we're cracking open the seal on the box here for the first time, and let's find out what's inside here. Alright, so I really like that Kuvings, unlike other companies, basically they're not using like styrofoam, right? They have this paperboard like packing material which is fully compostable or recyclable. I do encourage you guys to do that. And then inside here there's actually not a whole lot of things. There's this one main guy. This guy is pretty heavy here. And this is the main motor body, nice heavy duty here. I like that. I like its form factor, that it's nice and tall and not like too fat and wide. Let's see other things in here. Oh, this is cool. You basically get a vacuum storage container. So if you do want to take your smoothies that you make to work, you can actually put them in the vacuum storage container, suck out the air so that minimal oxidation occurs, before you get to drink it. So especially if you're saving your stuff. Perfect. All right, let's see what else we got. We also have the lid. So this is actually the lid here. It lessens the sound. They actually call it the noise reduction cover, but it also actually acts as a secret built-in vacuum port. Next we have the 64-ounce container. While the total capacity is 64 ounces, You can't fill it up to the top and expect to vacuum blend. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then finally you have a nice vacuum blend instruction manual and the recipe book. And that's pretty much all that's in the box there. I'm going to throw that aside and let's go ahead and talk more about this amazing Kuvings SV500 vacuum blender. So we got the blender plugged in, all set up, and now I want to go over some of the different parts and things that are included in detail with the Kuvings Quiet Vacuum Blender. Let's see here. So we got it set up. This is how it is. Basically, we got the motor base here on the bottom, and then on top we got the noise reduction cover that also serves as the vacuum lid and also the carafe. And so if we take each part off and they only go on one direction, here's the vacuum lid. It's basically just like a big cover here. And on the top of this, actually, on the side of this, I'll explain how this works. On the side of this, like in this little bar on the side here, there's like a little tube, and the tube connects this little hole here, and then the tube goes up through the cover top, up into the top here that you can't see, and then right in the middle, there's like a little hole in there. That tube goes up to that hole, and then before you vacuum, so this happens seamlessly. It sucks the air out of the carafe, which then happens on this one-way valve on the top of this carafe. So, I mean, this is the carafe. I do like that it actually has a nice grippy handle on the inside, so it's easy to grip, instead of just all plastic like on some. It has basically a 3D blade system, so it has like, let's see, like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blades like going in different angles, so it's going to be more effective at cutting things up if you don't chop it as small as you should be, you should cut things up into like 1-inch pieces before putting in here. You don't want to like put a whole zucchini in here and expect it to blend up. Chop it up first and then make sure you have the appropriate amount of water, which was at least 300 milliliters of water, or maybe like 1 cup of water minimum, to get anything to blend up in here if you are doing something liquid like a smoothie or a dressing or something like that. Let's see, this container is marked, is a 64-ounce carafe total, but it's actually marked up to let's see here, 5.5 cups approximately, and that is the max fill line, or if you operate in milliliters, it says max is 1,300 milliliters on here. Let's see, and then on the bottom it has, your connector where it connects to the motor base, which is metal on metal down here, so that's really good. And then also you have this really nice pad on the bottom that's going to help deaden the sound. And let's see here, what else? Oh, and then when you put this top on, you got to make sure it completely seals and goes all the way down in there. So there's like, actually they have like a nice gasket in here, so it can be a little bit more difficult to push on and pull off. And when you're done blending, you first have to actually lift up on this little handle right here in the middle to let the air pressure out, and then you could use this little handle on this little handle is kind of nice on the lid to help pull it up, because there is going to be some suction, some vacuum in there, and it would be hard to remove. The other thing I want you guys to know is that when you do put this blender on top of the unit, it could go on 4 directions. Like it could go on this way with the handle facing the back corner, the handle facing this back corner, but that is not going to work. It needs to be put on properly. You always need to make sure the handle is either facing the front corner, the right side, or the front corner on the left side. That's the only way this blender will operate. It won't operate in any other position. It has safety sensors and will not allow you to put it down. In addition, when you put on the noise reduction cover, the side with the line on it, because one side has a line and the other sides don't, this side with the line has to go back to this corner, which is, if you're looking at it, is your left corner, but you'll see like the little hose spigot here, and you just basically need to put that down on this side too. And you need to make sure this is firmly down, because if it's like a jar or kind of like that, it's not going to work properly. So it needs to be fully down so it works properly. Now, one of the things I don't like about this unit is that there's no on and off switch. So this machine will draw phantom power when you actually have it plugged in. Even though it may not be operating, it's still drawing some phantom power. Once you plug it in, this light will be red if it's set up and ready to go, but if the blender carafe is not in place, then that light will not be turning red. If you are ready to use it, you can press it once and it'll turn to blue. That means you are ready to blend or do something in the blender. So that's the main motor base, some of the basics about that. It also comes with an instruction booklet, so I would encourage you guys to read your instruction booklet before operation and make sure you know how to use the machine properly. Very important, much like anything, you need to use it in the proper sequence, proper ordering, or it's not going to work and you may have, maybe not good results. I'm going to try to cover a lot of the smaller points that are important, but I can't cover everything in a video. The other thing you're going to get with this vacuum blender, which is really nice, is a full color recipe book. I always liked Kuvings because they do come out with a recipe book. I mean, look at this, full color. I think this recipe book is like nearly 100 pages. I think there's like over 60 recipes in here of different kinds of green smoothies that you could make, different kinds of guacamole and peanut butter, hummus, strawberry milk freeze, orange sorbet, different kind of milks, blended soups, all kinds of different things in there that you guys can make with your Kuvings vacuum blender. So I mean, I think this is extremely important, and more manufacturers should include recipe books with their juicer or blender or whatever appliance they're selling, so that people can start using it and start benefiting from the appliance. I mean, this is a pretty inexpensive thing to include with an especially expensive vacuum blender or other product, but it could go a long way to help give people the results they want, after they buy the product. And then, of course, the last item you're going to get with the Kuvings vacuum blender is this. This is actually marked up to maybe like 800 milliliter. And this is basically a vacuum storage vessel. You could probably store up to like 1,000 milliliters in here. But basically what happens is you can use the carafe on this blender base, or you can go ahead and put this guy on. And once again, this guy needs to be in a certain orientation, I believe. But if you just put it on there, it'll make the noise and let you know it's ready. When you take it off, it doesn't. That's because there's these magnetic sensors. That's ready. Let's see if we put it on this direction. Yeah, this direction it doesn't work. In this direction it doesn't work. So the side with the graph here always needs to be pointing towards the front right or the front left, or it will not work. The main use of this carafe is actually you can put things in the carafe and press the vacuum function. It won't blend with this carafe on there, but you could actually vacuum save your fruits and vegetables to store for later, whether you vacuum blended them or you just want to store them in that carafe. I think the intention of the carafe is actually to have a nice to-go carafe. After you make your smoothie in here, you could put it in there and then take it to work. And then make sure, even though it is under vacuum, you still should be keeping it cold for sure. Anyways, I think I want to describe more about why vacuum blending technology is so important, and why I believe everybody that's doing blending, and especially making something like a green smoothie for their health, should be vacuum blending, right? When I first learned about the vacuum blending technology, I saw the difference it can make. I mean, not only with the nutrition, which increases some of the most valuable nutrients in your smoothies from the plant foods, the phytochemicals and the phytonutrients. Not only do your smoothies now have a better flavor, they have a better texture. They also reduces the oxidative damage that happens after you're done blending, right? And I'll demonstrate this actually coming up real soon. We're going to blend apples and let 2 bottles sit on the table here side by side for this whole video pretty much, and you'll see the difference in vacuum versus non-vacuum blending. There's also less separation, and there's less air in the mixture, which is actually quite important. One of the premises that the vacuum blender works on is that when you suck things under vacuum, it expands the fibers. So now that's what I want to demonstrate with this little demo here. We're going to take off this little carafe, pop it out, and what we got today are some marshmallows, Jet Puff marshmallows. These are fresh marshmallows. There's no secret or trickery. I'm opening it up and smelling them. I do not encourage you guys to, eat or consume marshmallows, but they work good for this demo to show you guys the power of the vacuum blender. Now let's see here. We're going to fill that up. I don't know. We're going to put maybe a few more in there. Alright, so we filled the container up like almost 3/4 of the way. We're going to go ahead and put that on to make sure it seals properly. Let's see if we get it to seal properly. Alright, that looks pretty good. And once again, I want to show you guys this up close. Okay, you guys can see how that looks. I mean, the marshmallows are not quite up to the top, and they're just basically the standard size marshmallows. And we're just going to go ahead and put this on the top here. And one of the functions on this blender, if you hit, let's see, this button only, it will only do the vacuum function. Oh, actually, no, it's this button. This button only does the vacuum function. So we're going to press the on button, which is the circle in the dial. It's going to turn it to blue, letting you know it's ready. You could select one of these buttons, whether vacuum only, vacuum plus blend, or blend only. And this is the automatic blend. So we're just going to do the vacuum only. We're going to press that once and watch very carefully inside the carafe. The vacuum is being sucked out, and the marshmallows are slowly and ever so slowly expanding out. And it's like one of them's covering the vacuum port. So we'll let this run until it stops. And wow, that's pretty crazy, like how it looks. I'll show you guys a close-up on there once it's done. And this is really cool because this is an automatic vacuum function, unlike the other vacuum blender that I have sold for like half a year now. You got to do a manual pump, or you actually got to put a manual battery-operated pump on it. This, you don't have to do anything. So this is my kind of blender because I'm busy. I don't want to sit there and pump stuff if I don't have to. Wow, this is like super impressive, man, what it's doing. This is definitely worth the wait. All right, so it just shut off, and check this out, man. We're gonna go ahead and take this out. And look at this. Look at these marshmallows in there, man. You see that? It was like 3/4 full. Now this is completely full. The marshmallows just totally encapsulated and took up all the space in this container. And that's because it's under vacuum. So what they say is that when you put things under vacuum, it basically expands the structure, or, you know, basically brings airspace in between the cells. And I mean, this is easily demonstratable on the marshmallows. Actually, now that it's not under vacuum, it's actually going down just a little bit. I wonder if there's a leak in the container because it was stretched out a lot more. But now you can see, once we pull a little lever here, watch this. Now these go down to even less than what they were before without the vacuum. So anyways, when the vacuum blender takes and stretches out the fibers, and now the blades are coming around and spinning and hitting it, that means it basically fractionates it, or able to cut it more efficiently. But besides just expanding it because it's under vacuum, which is good, it's very important also that the vacuum blender has a properly designed blade system and properly designed carafe so that it could actually come around and hit the wide open cells. So I like that. I think on this blender it actually has sharper blades than the previous unit that was released in the USA. In addition, you know, this carafe is a lot shorter and squattier, so that means you're going to get more blade contact time, you know, versus the other vacuum blender currently on the market that I will do an upcoming test with, that had a fatter carafe that, you know, sometimes things would not flow into the blades to actually get cut up, even if it was already expanded, and then there would be chunks in the blender. So yeah, so I do like that a lot. So that's how the vacuum blenders work, you know. And the main benefit to me, as somebody who's into my health, who actually blends, so I can get more fruits and vegetables in me, is the nutritional benefit. And Kuvings did a study where they basically tested the vitamin C content in tomatoes that were vacuum blended versus non-vacuum blended, and like in their tests, there's like they claim 0 vitamin C in non-vacuum blended tomatoes, and there's like a I don't know, significantly more, 2,900 milligrams of vitamin C in a vacuum blended tomatoes versus 0 in a non-vacuum blended. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but what I will say is that you know, when they've done testing in Japan, and other companies have done testing on different, you know, antioxidants, it can be significant. So like 2.5 times more polyphenol when you do blend blueberries if you're vacuum blending, and you lose those if you're not vacuum blending, right? And that just makes sense to me, because basically when you're blending, you're causing lots of oxidative damage. Anyways, let's me put my money where my mouth is, and we're going to actually blend something under vacuum and then not under vacuum to show you guys the difference. So now I'm going to do a very simple demonstration showing you guys actually in the video the difference vacuum blending can make just on the coloration and separation of what is being blended. Alright, so today we got the Kuvings Quiet high-speed vacuum blender over on this side, SV500. And then on this side we got the very popular Vitamix. You might own a Vitamix actually. And as soon as I got my first vacuum blender, my Vitamix went on the shelf, so it's actually collecting dust here, if you guys can see that. I don't use my Vitamix anymore, and although the Vitamix is a great blender because it actually grinds up things to a nice fine texture, it does a lot of oxidative damage to the most important nutrients that I'm concerned with. It's the antioxidant and phytochemicals and phytonutrients that can be anti-cancer and anti-aging for us. And that's why I started using a vacuum blender. Now, realize this, just because it's a vacuum blender doesn't automatically make it better than something like a Vitamix. A Vitamix is a great blender. I'll give Vitamix that. It's a great blender. It's probably one of the best, although I have tested one from China that was actually better in their grinding capabilities. But that's only one aspect of the blender. So yes, the blender should be grinding well. It should grind up everything and make your nuts and orange juice into a nice creamy dressing. You know, some blenders, even if it's a vacuum blender, might not be a good blender in general. So hopefully Kuvings has come through and they got a great vacuum blender that's also a good blender that can hopefully even rival the Vitamix. I'm just using the Vitamix today to show the non-vacuum feature, and I hope if you guys thumbs up this video and post down below, I'll do a future video comparing in detail more of the capabilities of the Vitamix versus the Kuvings in detail. Anyways, what we're going to do today, Vitamix, super simple, super easy to use. We got 8 ounces of water on each side. We're going to pour that in. We got 2 apples evenly weighed out on that side, and we'll put that in the Vitamix. I will say the Vitamix is easy to load up, but on this guy you have to actually pull off the top here. Then you have to pull off this top here. And then we'll go ahead, once again, 8 ounces of water. And then we got the 2 apples cut up already. And then we're just going to go ahead and put this top back on. But now we have to put the noise reduction cover with the vacuum apparatus in there. Put that on. So now we're ready to blend, but before I do, I want to make sure that in the Kuvings we actually have a good vacuum on it. So we're going to press the vacuum button only just to put this under vacuum before we blend. And to let you guys know what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and time it real quick for you guys, show you guys actually how long it takes to vacuum out automatically. So we're going to go ahead and hit the vacuum button and hit start. And then it's now under vacuum completely. So it took basically like almost a minute and a half to do so. And what we're going to do next is we're just going to go ahead and blend in both these blenders. We're going to just maybe hit the auto blend here and turn this on high. So the Kuvings shut off automatically. I don't have to touch it. And now we shut off the Vitamix. Now we're going to get 2 containers here, and we're going to pour the results in each one to show you guys what happened. Alright, first the Vitamix. And now the Kuvings. And when we take this off the top, we're going to have to pull this little plug. It's going to let the excess air out, take out the vacuum. Now we can lift off the top here. And this top does fit on rather tightly. It might be good to, as you're pushing the top up, is to lift the little release tab. And we're going to go ahead and pour this, because this consistency is pretty good. I think I see a few small chunks in there. And we're going to seal this up, and then we're going to put this to the side here in the camera view so you guys can see that, the process, how it's going to look in, 5, 10, even 15 minutes or when I'm done with this demo. I think next I got to go ahead and clean this unit up, and we want to come back at you, and I'm going to start demonstrating using the vacuum blender. So now I'll be testing the Kuvings Vacuum Blender making a green smoothie. So this is something I like to do regularly. This allows me to get more of the beneficial leafy greens into me. This happens to be a power greens mix with things like the Swiss chard and spinach and other different kind of greens, and the greens are the most nutrient-dense foods on the entire planet, and more people should be eating more greens, and whether that takes a juicer for you guys to juice your greens or whether it takes a vacuum blender, I don't care. Whether you guys got to cook them up, right? You got to get these greens in you, but one of the best ways to do it actually is either juicing them at a low speed or vacuum blending, so you're not doing the oxidative damage to the greens, the beneficial nutrients in the greens, such as the antioxidants and polyphenols and lutein and zeaxanthin, you know. And I want to stop for a minute and look at this. These guys have been sitting here while I've been prepping this food up, and this is the Vitamix side. Look how brown this turned. It's like all oxidized, turning brown, lower nutrition, but meanwhile, the one made in the vacuum blender still looks nice and bright. And we're going to continue to let that sit there while we make this smoothie. So this smoothie basically, we got 8 ounces, so this is like a ½ pound of leafy greens. We're just going to go ahead and load into the blender here. See if this blender could handle 8 ounces of leafy greens. I'm going to try not to pack it in too tight because then the blender is not going to really be able to work efficiently. And this blender does not include a tamper. I think they should be including a tamper for the price that they are charging for the blender. That being said, you can order a tamper separately should you desire one. That will be available later this year. Yes, so we easily fit 8 ounces of greens, although I wouldn't go for any more than that. And then now we have basically 2 loose cups of frozen banana. That's going to make my green smoothie taste nice and sweet here. Put that on top, and then finally we're going to have the water. Or I actually like to use the coconut water. It's a more nutritious water here, and so we're going to go ahead and put this in. This is the CO2 brand coconut water, and that's basically got a full 16 ounces of coconut water in there for me. Once again, then we're going to go ahead and put our vacuum top on the top here. Let me move this banana out of the way since it's going to kind of hit it a little bit. Alright, goes on nice and easily. And then we need finally our lid going on, and the first in the right orientation. And the first step is we're going to go ahead and hit the vacuum button. Turn this on, hit the vacuum button, and we're going to get this to vacuum out. Now this process, the vacuum process, probably is going to take about a minute or so, so we're just going to go ahead and wait and let it do its thing. Once it's done vacuuming out, now we're going to hit the auto blend function, and this is where you just get to watch the blender do all its work, all its magic. And I want to see if this blender is able to basically knock down all the stuff really high up in there and get it blended. So we're going to fast forward this for you guys so you guys can see the whole process here. Alright, then it shuts off automatically. Amazing. Let's go ahead and take this top off here, and let's take a look at what we got. And now once again we're going to pull this little release button. Listen carefully. So all the excess air comes out. Now we're going to lift this top up while we're pulling the plug to make it easy. And I mean, I want you guys to look at that green smoothie there. We're going to pour this out for you guys. I mean, this is a nice, rich and deep green smoothie. Let's see if I see any particles. I think I saw one particle come out. Oh, here's a leaf that I think was stuck at the top. That didn't get blended. Oh, went right in. But what you're going to find in a vacuum blender is that the texture is a lot smoother. So let's go ahead and drink this. Wow. Aside from this one whole leaf, I think that was sticking up near the top that didn't get blended. This is amazing smooth texture. Wow, I'm going to have to say, it did definitely a good job. But the other thing to realize is, while you are blending, you're keeping more nutrients. Also, after blending, right, you're going to actually have a realistic amount of smoothie produced. If you blend in, say, a Vitamix, your smoothie, you fill it up to the 48 ounce line. And then when you're done blending, it's up to the 54 ounce line. And you didn't just instantly create food. You put a lot of air bubbles or oxygen into the blender. And if you pour that off into a bottle or a jar and you seal it up, right, you come back in a couple hours, it's going to drop down because those air bubbles are going to pop. And when the air bubbles pop, that does further oxidative damage to your smoothie, also the taste can change dramatically, especially when you blend something with bananas in it. I mean, I'm drinking it now, it tastes great, but if this was not in a vacuum blender, I let it sit for a couple hours and I went back to it, it would taste horrible. And with a vacuum blender, the taste is still going to be really top notch. It's going to taste still really good even after a couple hours. I mean, just look at this comparison. I mean, this is even getting more different now, a lot darker, still staying the nice, vibrant, light color. And so far, so good. Kuvings did an amazing job on the green smoothie. So you guys just saw how the Kuvings Vacuum Blender did an amazing job actually on a liquid green smoothie, but now I want to know how it does basically grinding up dry ingredients. Now, some people say you're not supposed to vacuum use a vacuum when you're blending dry ingredients. I mean, I've been vacuum blending dry ingredients since I've owned a vacuum blender, and it seems to work great for me. And actually, I would encourage you guys to vacuum anything you guys are grinding up, because that's going to minimize the oxidative damage of the oxygen floating around in the chamber, especially if you're going to be grinding something as delicate as the flax seeds. Flax seeds can be very difficult to grind up, just in general. And then also, you know, when you are blending them, you're basically breaking open the cell walls, which can cause oxidative damage, especially at high speed. So if you do it in a vacuum, you're going to minimize any potential rancidity or a nutrient degradation due to the oxidation. If you are going to do this, I do encourage you guys actually to have a completely dry carafe. So I did wash and then completely dry this out. We'll be processing approximately 4 ounces of the flax seeds in here. And we're just going to go ahead and set this up. Set that top on there. And then we're just going to go ahead and pull a nice vacuum on it and let it run for a couple minutes. Now there's complete vacuum in there, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the manual mode. Basically you just turn this dial, I'm going to crank it up to high. That's slow, you can see the seeds kind of getting mixed around, but really to get any grinding action you need to crank it up to high. This blender has like a maximum of 32,000 revolutions per minute and is rated at 3.5 horsepower. At this small RPM, there's no grinding, but watch when we crank this up. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn that off, and let's go ahead and take our sound reduction cover off. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see if we could put these ground flax seeds through a sieve. And so once again, listen for the vacuum. Whoa! Now you want to make sure if you do grind things up in the vacuum blender, you want to make sure that you thoroughly clean the vacuum top, because even one fleck of the flaxseed powder gets into the vacuum top, then the machine will not work properly in the future when it tries to suck full vacuum out. So yeah, underneath the top there's lots of different seeds, so we're going to try to tap that down there. And here's the powder, and now we're going to go ahead and put it through a sieve there, and we're going to shake it down to see what kind of stuff we got left. Alright, I'm going to say like mostly it's coming out fairly fine. You know, if I probably would have put less flax seeds, I probably would have been able to be more effective at grinding some of the hard shells up. But I think we're about done sifting out the rest, and I think we got all like the nice harder stuff. Let's see, I mean, if we just push this through the screen with my hand without shaking it down, I mean, we're still getting some extra flax meal out. But now I think we have all the leftover stuff. So I mean, the really interesting test would be to like grind flax seeds in this versus like a Vitamix at the same time. And if we put this in our little container there, I mean, there's not even that much in there. We can't even register it. That being said, these are all like, there's no whole seeds in here. These have all been ground up to some extent, just not fully ground, like literally the flax dust that we have here. So that's pretty good. But what I want to try next actually is under vacuum. I want to try to make a nut butter, right? Nuts have lots of fats. They can go rancid and stuff. Basically, I think we had about 3 cups of nuts in here. And once again, you got to make sure your container is fully dry. And hopefully I did not get any flax seeds in the little blender here when it's sucking out the air. Hopefully that's going to do it pretty good. And now we're going to go ahead and put our lid on again. And we're going to hit the vacuum button once again. Alright, so now we have, now that it's done sucking out the vacuum, now we're going to hit the auto blend button to see what happens when you do an auto blend with the macadamia nuts, and if this blender is able to figure out it has macadamia nuts and it's turning it into a butter for me, the user. Alright, auto blend on. So it's kind of pulsing, which is really good. It's just blending a little bit so it doesn't get stuck up and it doesn't create too much cavation at the bottom. It's still turning, it's still spinning. You can see the bottom is starting to turn into that like creamy, rich nut butter I like. It's continuing to run more and more. Alright, so using the automatic function, this machine was not able to make the nut butter because I don't know, it's all in there. So like, let me show you guys what happened actually. So that's what it looks like. We're going to shake this up a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. And I'll put the lid back on, and now I'm just going to go ahead and do a manual control, and we're just going to go ahead and turn it on a little bit, and we're just going to crank it up to high. And now I'm getting my nut butter. Maybe I should have just cranked it up to high in the first place, but probably if you're making the nut butter, it's probably good at first to pulse it a bunch and then put it up to high. But now literally it's taking all those macadamia nuts under vacuum and turn them into a really rich and delicious nut butter. Alright, so the machine auto shut off, and let's see if it made some nut butter. Once again, this container is a little bit warm. Let's pull our vacuum off. We were still under vacuum for sure. That's really good. Lift our top off here. And look at this macadamia nut butter inside here. We're going to go ahead. This is like so creamy. Look, this stuff pours. This is the power of the Kuvings Vacuum Blender. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to do it with nuts or with almonds or any other kind of nut. You know, macadamia nuts tend to be you know, of a higher fat content. And it was able to easily butter up my nuts. And actually, this is a really nice, smooth texture. I'm not seeing any chunks in there, which is really good. So if you do want to make a nut butter under the vacuum, you know, you should use a good percentage of macadamia nuts. Maybe try 75% macadamia nuts, 25% almonds that have a lower fat content, or if you use the roasted almonds or peanuts, you know, it should work relatively well. But that's what we got, and let me go ahead and dip my finger in there. Oh, I felt a nut in there. That's some really rich macadamia nut butter. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some particles actually looking at this a little bit more closely. So it didn't, you know, make it into super creamy, but I'd say it's mostly creamy with very few chunks. So now I'm going to do the final demonstration today in the Kuvings Vacuum Blender, showing you guys actually how to make a really thick ice cream sorbet. Technically, because I am adding so much liquid, this is not a true ice cream, because a true ice cream basically doesn't have any extra liquid in it. But because I'm doing it under vacuum, you do need to put some, you know, kind of liquid in it, especially when you're doing a lot of frozen fruit. So I have literally like 4 cups of frozen fruit here, including, you know, maybe like a cup and a half of bananas, another cup and a half of strawberries, and then some blueberries on the top. This is all frozen fruit, not fresh, because I want to see the texture actually this machine will be able to make on the frozen fruit. Now, I might not be putting enough liquid in there, so I'm warning you guys in advance. I've never done this before in the Kuvings. I don't know what's going to happen. So we're using like basically 16.9 ounces or 500 milliliters of, once again, the coconut water. And we're going to go ahead and pour that in first. Right now, the Kuvings actually does not have a tamper available. Later this year, they will have a tamper available. And then you will be able to do the ice cream with the tamper when you're not under vacuum. Let's go ahead and pour all this frozen fruit in there. This is definitely a lot of frozen fruit for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how this blender is able to do. So yeah, once again, this is just a very thick smoothie, mainly just to see the texture. Once again, the vacuum function, turn this baby on, hit it under vacuum. It takes about 1.5 minutes on my estimation for the vacuum function to work. So we'll come back at you when we're ready to blend. Alright, now we're all ready to blend, and we're going to hit the automatic feature to see if this blender is able to handle all these frozen fruits. tried it shut itself off, but I'm not thoroughly convinced that it's fine enough texture, so we're going to go ahead and run it manually here. And we're just going to crank this on low. And I want to show you guys actually how much difference the sound enclosure makes. So we'll crank it halfway up. You can listen, it's pretty muted. Wow, you hear the difference? That's like a lot louder. Man, that's like a lot more quiet actually when you have that on versus off. Alright, let's crank it all the way up. This is definitely doing some damage to that frozen fruit now. Alright, we'll turn it off, take off the sound enclosure there. Take this guy off, and we'll lift this up. It's still under vacuum. And we'll remove the top here. And let's go ahead and pour out our nice thick smoothie. Let's see if I'm seeing any chunks if I feel around in there. I mean, it feels like a nice, you know, this is a smoothie texture. Maybe I could have got away with maybe 10 ounces of water. I'm not really sure. But it's, you know, pretty thick. Wow. I have to give it an A+ on the texture and actually an A+ for that recipe. Tastes good, man. I taste the strawberries. The blueberries and the banana. I'm not tasting any chunks, any particles. Let me see if I could go around in here and get anything. Nope. Excellent job on the texture. The question is how much less coconut water could I put in to still maintain this texture so that it wouldn't be as watery. For that, I'm going to have to experiment some more. Anyways, this was the first look at the Kuvings Quiet High Speed or High Power Vacuum Blender, SV500. I've definitely had a good time. So far, so good. My experience has been good so far, except you got to make sure you always put this the handle near the front or it's not going to work. Oh, and I want to revisit actually real quick the two bottles. So these bottles have been sitting here this whole demo. This has taken me 2 hours to film so far from the time I started till now, including, you know, stopping and washing and all this prepping. But look at the difference in the smoothie, right? This is from the Vitamix. If you own a Vitamix, this is what you get after about 2 hours of sitting approximately, or an hour and a half. And if you have a Kuvings vacuum blender, this is what you get. Which one would you rather drink? Something that's all old and oxidized, like this guy, that's going to taste probably bitter and not so good. There's definitely less of the phytochemical nutrients in here. Or something that actually has a nice, richer color, better flavor, and more nutrients. So the main reason why I like the Kuvings Vacuum Blender is because it removes the excess oxygen air before blending. This means you're going to have more vivid colors. It's also going to blend a little bit better. You're going to enjoy better flavor profiles. You're going to have higher nutrition content. You're going to have less oxygen actually in the blended mixture. So that may help you with you know, gas or bloating or burping or belching afterwards. I know always when I used to drink smoothies that would happen a lot. It prevents browning in the mixture, and you have less separation. So I don't know if you guys can see this on the bottom of this. It's starting to separate a little bit, but look, on this mixture, it's not yet separated. Of course, every mixture will separate over time. This mixture separates definitely a lot slower. You know, you're going to have more vitamin A, more vitamin C, and more of the beneficial polyphenol antioxidant nutrients that are in whatever you're blending, especially like in the blueberries there, like they've done studies on. So far, so good. You know, once again, this was my first test, first day I ever used this machine in-house. And so now I want to do a lot more testing with it. I will do more videos in the future as I get to learn this machine more, as I learn about some of its capabilities. So far, so good. It's definitely my favorite vacuum blender out on the market at this time. And be sure to click that subscribe button right down below, because pretty soon I'll be demonstrating the Kuvings Vacuum Blender versus the TriBest Vacuum Blender. Each of them have their own pros and cons. I guess the main con with the Kuvings is that the craft is a little bit smaller, but hey, that's good because my portion sizes, you know, are a little bit smaller these days, not as big as they used to be when I was a young strapping lad. So if you want more videos with the Kuvings Vacuum Blender, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I'll do more videos in the future. Also post your comments, questions, videos you want me to make down below. I'll try to get to those and answer them when I am able. And the other thing I want to let you guys know is that, you know, I put a lot of effort, time, money, and materials and produce into making these videos for you guys, and the only reason why I do this is to educate you guys so you guys can become empowered consumers to make the best choice of the best appliance for you, whether that's a juicer, whether that's a vacuum blender, whether that's a dehydrator. I test all the different appliances that allow you to make and process more fruits and vegetables in your home so you could become healthier by including them and eating them in your diet. And so I'm glad I'm able to do this because, you know, I myself am on a plant-based diet. But hopefully you would also realize the value that this video has, that nobody else is making videos to this such detail that I am, that you would also want to help me out and support me. And I make a living by selling these appliances such as the Kuvings Vacuum Blender. So if you found this video helpful, I would encourage you guys to support me and make your purchase at discountjuicers.com. We're the first and only retailer right now in the country to sell the Kuvings Vacuum Blender. We also do have a price match policy, so should you find any appliance, anything we sell for less money from an authorized distributor or dealer of the product, we will match the price, you know, without any problem. So that we can earn your business, not only by the price, because price is one factor, but also hopefully with the service and education that we provide before and also after the sale. Should you have challenges with your appliance, we are your liaison to make sure the manufacturers take care of my customers, which I can't say that for any other big box store. So yes, I appreciate you guys' support in advance for those of you guys that will purchase from me, and I want to thank you guys for those of you guys that have been my viewers and have been my customers in the past, because that allows me to continue to do what I love, is to make educational videos on YouTube to help out the world and create a better world, a better place to live in. So yeah. The other thing I want to say is that I want you guys to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what product I'll be testing on this YouTube channel. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 500 episodes at this time. Teach you guys all aspects, comparing juicers and blenders and dehydrators amongst each other so that you guys can get the right appliance for you. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody else that should know about the vacuum blending technology and how the Kuvings Vacuum Blender actually works. I hope to do more videos on the future about vacuum blending and the difference between vacuum blending and normal blending, because it is relatively a new topic right now and so many people are not yet familiar with it, but should be. So yeah, if you want to purchase the Kuvings Vacuum Blender, please be sure to check the link in the description, also in the comments down below, to learn more about the pricing and other specifications that were not mentioned in this video, or if you want to purchase it. And also be sure to use the special coupon code VACUUM for additional $20 off your Kuvings Vacuum Blender if you buy from Discount Juicers. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.